I want to dive into some of the questions we have because look, I'm my background way back is like the military, and then I went into game production, and I spent a bunch of time at Riot working on League of Legends and Valorant and platforms and all this different stuff. Mostly PC, messed a little bit with mobile and platforms and some cross-platform things. And since then, I've been working with companies all over the place. And I'll be honest, when I was at Riot, we didn't have to talk about user acquisition. The game was huge. It was viral. Like we eventually did run ads, but I mean, for a lot of the time I was there, it was like, dude, we're very proud of the fact that we don't have to run ads. People tell their friends, more people play, more people play, more people play. Like we ran more ads for, I think, esports than we did for the game, and things like that when that first started becoming a thing. So, I didn't have a great picture of like what user acquisition was. So let's start there. I've become a little bit more familiar, but nowhere near as familiar as you. Matej, define user acquisition for us.
I mean, everything you just mentioned is some kind of or some form of user acquisition because the word of mouth, word of mouth is kind of part of the UA, but it's not paid. And these days in mobile, it's not 2011, 12 anymore where you had Thinkersoft and Hill Climb Racing where they just launched the game or Subway Surfers that launched the game and suddenly you are getting hundreds of thousands people per day installing your game.
Mm-hmm.
You launch your game and nobody knows about it. So you need to do some activities and work on some activities to actually bring the players into the game. And by the user acquisition, it's just you're bringing your players into the game with different channels, processes, activities. There's App Store optimization, which kind of helps with how your users are kind of uncover your game on the store. There are also some interesting practices and in there, but I'm doing the paid user acquisition, which I mean I can't say I love the most, but I love the most because you can control what you are getting, what players you are getting, which channels you are running. So basically, user acquisition is simply saying like trying to convince people to install your game.
Mm-hmm. So
And
there's been a split, but like I would say that League of Legends, I'd almost describe it as like it's organic user acquisition. It was almost pure organic, where you're talking about like paid or targeted or
Yeah.
something like that, where it's like we're
Yeah.
going. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Cool.
Exactly.
All right. Now, because we already ran into a couple of them, I want to talk about some of the big acronyms that are in the space. So, CPI, LTV, I don't know if you talk about like you talk about ROAS.
ROAS, of course,
Yeah.
ROAS
So
all the time.
so walk through like what are the big few that if someone was unfamiliar with UA, didn't know any of these acronyms, maybe they've seen them occasionally on a LinkedIn post or whatever. Just run through like, hey, these are the big ones that you'll tend to see when you're thinking about user acquisition.
Yeah, CPI, the cost per install obviously, which is important. LTV, your lifetime value. You mentioned that ROAS is return on ad spend, for how much money you spend and then how much money you get back. That is usually tied to certain time frame. Also, LTV is tied to certain time frame. We are usually talking about ROAS day 1, or ROAS on day 3, ROAS on day 7, because the LTV and the lifetime value, and it's a curve which should increase over time. If it's not increasing over time, you have a problem.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Or I have a problem and I'm targeting wrong users. Then we have the IPM, which is install per mile. That means number of installs per 1,000 impressions. This
Okay.
this is kind of a little bit more effective way how to measure how your creatives are efficient. It kind of came up into the UA space when the hyper casual games were run heavily, because then like these games had 440 IPM, which means 40 installs in 1,000 impressions. For comparison, match-free games IPM is 3 or 4.
Right. Okay.
So it's like different genre, different IPM, so instance per 1,000 impressions. Then we have the CTRs, which is the click-through rate, how many people click on your ad. and then it connected to the conversion rate or click to install. So how many people clicked and then eventually installed the game. And then we have the store conversions, which is what I just mentioned. It can be from the paid, so how many users saw your ad, clicked on the ad, and then installed the ad in the store, or installed the game in the store. And then we have organic conversions, so basically how many people saw your icon or your screenshot or something in the store, and then eventually install the game from the store, or from seeing the game asset in the store. What else do we have? Oh well, then we have the AEO or VO, which is app event optimization, which I usually use, and it's a campaign type. It's a campaign type because we have campaigns which you can target for cost per install, so means lowest cost possible. But it doesn't really bring the best audience anymore. You have cheap CPI or like very low CPIs, but the quality is terrible as well. Then Facebook
And when
came
you
up
say
with
when
the
you say quality is terrible, there you mean you have low CPI, so there's a low cost per user that installs, but quality being terrible means that hey, there's not much value that's coming back from those, like low LTV basically,
exactly
or over
a low
some
retention,
yeah, low retention, low LTV, something
low
like that.
retention.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, so Facebook came up with these app event optimized campaigns where you can basically target or use certain events from the game in the campaign optimization. So let's say I want to get people that finish the tutorial. So you use that event in the campaign. So that's why it app event optimization. But then it wasn't enough because people are using this event, but also purchase event, which was great because it was bringing payers. But then someone thought, oh, well I know that someone from Facebook, he said, let's just focus not on the number of events, but actually the value that players are bringing into your game, which then became value optimization and value optimized campaigns, which is now run at the best possible optimization almost all the channels because it's bringing it, if in simple terms, whales. Everybody wants
Okay.
whales.
Right. Okay. Define whales for me around the user acquisition framework. Like, what is? Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
whale for me is anyone who spends more than, let's say, $200 or 500. That that for me a whale. It kind of depends obviously on the different genre and the game you have, but yeah, generally anything about 200 or 500 can be whale.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's some of the terms that we'll probably
Right.
keep hitting
Yeah,
on.
we could be
Oh,
here
I know. I
talking
know.
about
Well,
this for
yeah.
yeah
Yeah.
so long. Don't worry. Yeah,
Well,
it's all
so if you were to simplify it down and say, hey, this is somebody who's totally new to user acquisition. They know nothing about user acquisition. Their plan was something like, I'll build the game, I'll put it on Steam or I'll put it on the App Store or whatever, and I just hope people will play it and like it and it'll go viral and it'll become like, the classic example of this that came to mind for me in the mobile world. You probably have a better one, but like I remember Flappy Birds, the guy that released like that guy did no marketing. He didn't even want the game to be successful. He was distressed and stressed out that it was successful. But like, talk about a viral hit, probably wouldn't happen today. Not in the same way, at least.
yeah. Not in the same way. Yeah, not in the same way.
So so here, there he had this sort of viral thing. But imagine you were like, I'm hoping to have a Flappy Bird style hit, and you were going like, hey, yeah, but probably not a good plan. Here's the most important one of these things that I would ask you to start measuring. What would you tell people to focus on?
Well, they should be measuring the onboarding. Nothing actually with the UA yet.
Okay.
Because if they have a problem in the onboarding or somewhere early in the funnel, like why would you run UA and throw money out of the window?
And funnel is, hey, we let's say we put something out there. Somehow somebody sees our thing. How many people click it? How many people when they click it go to the next click that they would need to get to? How many people go from that point to like and at some point that means an installed product, but like basically measuring the different, like how many people do you lose at each place of the funnel. And so for onboarding, That's what you're talking about?
I'm talking about onboarding in the game actually. So you
Okay.
install the game somehow, but then what happens afterward? How many players you lose in the different steps in the tutorial, and then what after? Like, are they playing still after day 7? Are they playing after day 30? Because that's important. If they are not, and you start spending, you might lose a lot of players and also a lot of money at that point.
Right.
That's very very important.
Okay, so you're talking about then like I install the game.
Yeah,
Do I click on it? If I click on it, do I start the tutorial? If I start the tutorial, how
yeah,
far do I get? And at what point
exactly.
and fix that? Like fix that
Yeah,
first.
exactly. Yeah, because
Okay.
look, the LTV always of the game and the retention like dictates the spend on the UA side. Because people ask like, oh well, look, so we have oh well we have money, we don't know what kind of budget we should have. Like, okay, fine, good, I can figure that out. But when do you want to see the money back? Oh well, you tell us. Like, well, what do you mean? I tell like we need to look at together. Like, how does your LTV curve look like, and how does your retention curve look like? So if you want to see your invested money back in 2 years, but players, well, there's basically zero players after 90 days. You can't really aim for 2 years. It's very simple like that. Oh, okay, but those games in our genre are aiming to for 2 years. Yeah, of course, but you don't know their numbers, and they like certain genres have certain LTV curves because that's how it works. If you want to run a match-free game, and you kind of have to aim to get the money back in 2 years because the CPIs are really high, and you can't really squeeze that much money from the players in the first year. It needs some time, and usually in match-free games, when people are playing and they keep playing, they're very invested and they play for years. So
Mm,
that's why in the first year, you might see 70% of ROAS coming back, and then the next 30% it's gonna come in the year 2, for example. So, and this is something that everybody needs to understand first before they start spending even some money. And then obviously before starting spending money, you need to have the tracking in place, and you need to test it a little bit from like the small campaigns just to see if your data is healthy, and you need to do the data health check on some channels.
got it. So the first thing you would do, like your first step, you go to that person who's like, I thought I was just gonna put it on that the
Yeah,
app store and it was gonna be great. Is hey, let's start actually like making sure we have good telemetry around your onboarding funnel, and then we can start thinking about what an ad spend would look like. But we need to solve those things first. I think it's also interesting to note, and again, this it makes tons of sense. It's just something that again hadn't popped into my head around the idea of, oh, different genres will have different LTV curves and different time frames to basically hitting uh, LTV over CPI, or again the ROAS, the return on ad spend percentages. So sometimes you make a game going, I expect the CPI to be high. That's okay. This game is almost like a long-term investment vehicle versus another game, which is very much like this game might be dead in 3 months, but I might have made 200 million in that
which can
time.
happen.
By the way, like people are like, oh, that must be predatory. I'm like, no, I mean, a lot of huge console games have huge spikes of revenue at the start and then just like declines to almost nothing. And it's like, but that's fine. It paid for the game. We made some extra money. No big deal. Like
Exactly.
almost any
That's
single
how
player
it
game.
works.
Yeah.